of course, there are always tough moments, or a lot of tough moments. And the reason why I played volleyball, why I started and why I kept going for a long time was because I enjoy playing volleyball. And sometimes during tough moments, it's good to remind yourself to maybe find like even joy in small moments. And then because I'm a guy that always is thinking about stuff. And then I think it's good to find ways to control it. There are a lot of different options. Like also with the strength and conditioning, you don't only have to work on your muscles, you have to work on your brain also. It's also a muscle.
Welcome along to the Lifting in Life podcast. I'm Cam, I'm the host. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. I'm a personal trainer and I also work in IT. Today, I'm joined by my mate Florian. We became friends when he travelled all the way to Whakatane on an exchange back in high school. Flo is a professional volleyball player who's represented Germany and played for a whole bunch of club teams in Europe. So in this episode, we explore his volleyball journey, some of the most significant things he's had to improve on and overcome in that journey. And then we actually talk about gratitude and how gratitude is a part of his daily practice, which, I found super interesting and wasn't expecting to talk about gratitude. So, I really enjoyed that. As always, I appreciate you tuning into the podcast, and any support you can show goes a long way, and it helps me continue getting these awesome people on. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and remember, you make you. All right, Flo, we finally made it happen after multiple missed attempts on both sides, but we're finally here. We made it happen. I'm looking forward to chatting to you, bro. I've obviously been following your journey for quite some time now, ever since you were in Whakatane. Oh man, that must have been over 10 years ago now.
That was like 2013, so 11 years now. Almost.
Yeah, man.
It feels really long ago. Well, it is really long ago, but it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah,
so, man. You get old quick. Time runs.
So quick, bro. And obviously with your volleyball, man, you've taken it to a whole nother level from where you were at in Trident High School, humble beginnings. You've gone all the way up to represent Germany and play for big club teams. And so I'm really looking forward to getting into it, man.
Honored to be here.
Where I thought we could start, we've kind of already briefly touched on it there, but could you just talk to us about how you got into volleyball, and then also go over some of the teams that you've played for since getting into volleyball right at the start?
So I would say I started to play volleyball when I was, I think, 13 or 14 years old, but it was like nothing serious. It was like once a week or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then actually when I was at Trident High School in New Zealand, due to the like scholar system where you have a lot of sports going on directly at the school, I was playing volleyball almost every day. And to be honest, that's actually where I really found a passion for the sport. And so I played there. I was not good, but I was having a lot of fun.
That's the main thing.
That's exactly why I played it and why I still played it, to be honest, but I'll get to that. So when I got back, I was playing for like the regional team for Hamburg, because I live close to Hamburg. And I was just doing my normal like high school diploma, I'll say. And then at the same time, playing for the regional team. And then I wasn't really planning to play professionally in the future or anything. But I was actually looking to study, because in Germany there's a system where you can study and work at a company at the same time, and they kind of support you.
Nice.
And so you get your bachelor's degree or your master's degree in the normal time, from like 3 or 5 years for the master. And I was actually applying for jobs, or like for one of those spots. And I was at the same time playing in the 3rd division in Germany. Like nothing serious, no pro contracts or anything. And there was the coach of the like Bundesliga. It's the 1st division. It's like the soccer team. The league is named the same way. One of the coaches was at the game. I didn't even know a lot of about professional volleyball. I kind of knew his face because he was quite famous in Germany and he played my position as well. His name is Stefan Hübner. He was like a world-class middle blocker, like probably like now 15 years ago. So I knew him. He's German. He's a legend. And he asked me after the game, like, hey, what do you think? Maybe next season about first practicing with us a little bit, and then eventually, maybe if you like it, you could come and join us. So my decision was made pretty quickly after practicing with them a few times. And yeah, I realized that, well, maybe this can go somewhere. And at the same time, instead of working and studying, I was doing a sport that I love. I was getting a little bit of money and I was studying. And
That's
I didn't
such a
have to
good
work.
setup.
So
Yeah, man.
basically I was doing my, I was doing my passion and I was getting paid for it.
Yeah.
And so I did that for 5 years in Lüneburg. It's close to Hamburg. It's like a 1 hour car ride from there. And then, what's next? I did my bachelor's degrees and my master degree there at the university in engineering, which I was really lucky to do because a lot of professional volleyball players don't have the possibility to study right where they play. So a lot of times it's like online universities where I would say it is harder because you don't have the social contacts with your fellow students.
Hmm.
So it overall takes longer a lot of the times to finish your studies. So I was lucky to do that and finish that. And then once I knew, okay, I'm getting close to finishing my master's degree. Maybe let's see where this volleyball thing can go. And there's like agents, like in at many other sports, that you work with, and they started to ask around in different countries. This was also during the summer, because during the summer you have the national team season, and during the winter you have the pro club season. And this was the first time that I was also with the national team, so it gave me a little bit of exposure. I played a pretty good season in my German club. So I ended up getting an offer from Poland, from one of the best leagues in the world. Not the best team, but it was in Poland. It meant that
Hmm.
I would play against world famous players every single weekend. So that was already enough for me to say yes. And so I played there for 2 seasons. The name of the club was Kuprum Lubin. It's like I said, not the best club, but they've managed to stay in the league for a long time now. So it also speaks to their work there. And I did 2 seasons there, and then like now I just got back uh from my latest season, I would say,
Hmm.
which I played in France. This was
Yeah.
so I did the 2 years in Poland, and then I went to France to the Spacers from Toulouse in the south of France.
Hmm.
We got knocked out in the quarterfinals. Um, the French league is surely not as strong as the Polish league. There's like the three best leagues in the world, I would say, are the Italian, Polish, and the Russian league. The Russian league at the moment is we don't really have a lot of contact with them.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's like the French league and maybe also the German league. And that's the leagues in Europe at least. And then you have
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
leagues like Japan, South Korea, and China, where you a lot of times have like a limit for the number of foreigners that you can sign. It's the same in Europe, but
Yeah.
I would say the French league is definitely not as strong as the Polish league. I think everyone that plays volleyball is going to agree with that. So I just got back from that. Um, and now is kind of the in between time between the seasons.
Yeah. Off
Because
season time.
exactly, we had the during the winter, like I said, the pro seasons, and now I have about 14 days until the national team season starts again, which is basically going to take the whole summer. And then during the national team seasons, you have different tournaments. Like one of them is the Volleyball Nations League. It's like like a championship where everybody is playing against everyone of the. It's like 15 or 16 teams, the
Oh
best
wow.
teams in the world that play every year.
Yeah.
So we have that, and then we have like it rotates. sometimes we have the European Championship, sometimes we have the World Championship. This summer is only the Olympics and the Volleyball Nations League, so two big tournaments. And yeah, that's currently what I'm working towards. So
Man,
there isn't really an off season because I have to keep working.
straight back
With
into it.
strength and conditioning keeps going on, and I need to keep working on that. But
Yeah. Oh man,
yeah,
that's
that's
cool.
currently where I'm at.
Bro, there's so much we can talk about in there.
Yeah,
One thing that I might want to zoom in on a little bit more.
yeah.
What was it like in that moment where you got approached by the coach of the first division team when you were playing in the third division? What was that moment like, being approached by someone like that and having an offer to come and train with them?
Yeah, it was really exciting, and at the same time, it was like two worlds colliding because
Mm,
I knew that I always wanted to study engineering, and so for me, it was clear that no matter what I would decide, I would have to like find a solution to be able to study. And I didn't know at that point that there would be a university at the where this club is playing at the town. So I was really unsure. And at the same time, I was like, "Whoa, this guy's talking to me!" Like, whew.
yeah,
And everybody around me,
starstruck.
all my other teammates are like, "Whew, man!"
Damn.
Like, yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
looking like right now. And no, he was really nice,
Mhm.
really down to earth guy, and we connected immediately. And yeah, I mean, first off, he didn't offer me like the pro contract straight away. He told me like, "Hey, first year, like come practice with us," and then it was kind of a process until I got the pro contract. But it was pretty clear that if I decided to come practice with them, he would probably end up offering me that pro contract. So
Yeah. And what was it
really
like
exciting.
when you went into the gym and trained with those dudes for the first time? Was it
I
quite
sucked. I
did
sucked.
you? Was it
They
quite
were much better
intimidating?
than me. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like 18, 19 years old. I mean, I played for my regional team, but then there's also like the youth national team, and I was never part of that system. If I'd been a part of that system, I would have had to transfer schools. I would have
Mhm.
had to move to Frankfurt or to Berlin, and I didn't really want to do that because I knew that my education was really important to me.
Yeah,
And at those schools, the education wasn't necessarily the most important thing because I also knew that volleyball, you can make some money, but you're most likely not going to finish a millionaire doing that.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, education was really important to me. So I decided pretty quickly that I wanted to stay and finish my school in Hamburg. Um,
mhm,
so kind of the professional idea of playing volleyball was really never in my mind. And yeah, in the end, he approached me during that game, and yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and that's smart too, because I could imagine that if you only pursued the athlete thing and it didn't work out, and then you have no qualifications or experience in anything else, trying to get a job somewhere or trying to
Yeah.
find another career could be quite difficult.
Maybe that's also like a little bit of a German thing. I don't know, like always wanting to be like safe about everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, I know like other German guys that said like, okay, they knew pretty early, okay, I wanna go full like all in into professional volleyball at like 15, 16 years old. They were sure about it.
Yeah.
And because they also like had their parents, for example, that played really successfully. So I don't know. I was also always a little bit outside of the system. So yeah, when I first went to practice with the team, like I also play a position where it's not necessarily the most important to have great technique. And at that point, and I still am not the greatest like technical volleyball player, but there's other like things in my position. I'm a middle blocker that are really important, like eye work and coordination and like also physicality, which I
Mm.
also always had which was always my strong point. I could always really jump well, and yeah,
Yeah, man. I see some of your pictures that you put up, and your like chin is like up over the net when you're blocking. It's pretty
yeah.
wild. Because how tall are you?
I'm gonna come at you with a meter. I don't know what's it like in the UK. I'm 2 meters tall. I
Two,
don't
four,
know if
yeah.
it's
Is
like
that
six,
like,
seven,
yeah,
six,
man.
six, 6, 7, something like
Yeah.
that.
So you're
But now
super tall
in
and you
yeah,
can jump as well.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah, that's not always great for the knees. I think
Yeah, true.
all my teammates, me included, have a lot of knee problems, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's also why I'm still working out like now during the off season to kind of work on my weak points, especially the
Yeah.
knees.
You mentioned
Um,
the kind of strength and conditioning stuff. Could we maybe look at that a little bit? What does strength and conditioning and a typical training week look like for you? I imagine it must be different, sort of on season versus off season, kind of like you mentioned how you're in a bit of an off season now. So for you to improve, what does your training look like?
so at the moment, we have a lot of volume. We are
Mhm.
like today we have a Polish strength and conditioning coach. Like he calls it Tabata.
Oh
We
yeah,
have
Tabata,
like
yeah.
a circle kind of thing,
Hmm.
um, where we do like for 20 seconds work, 10 seconds off, and
Yeah.
then 8 rounds of 8 exercises.
That's hard, man.
And that
Tabata is
was really hard.
hard.
I just finished
Yeah.
it, so yeah,
Oh,
a little
yeah.
exhausted, but no, it's fine. And then you have that once a week. Actually, maybe twice a week because maybe I have it the same one tomorrow. He sends me the plan now.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
still in Poland, so he's sending all the players the plans.
Yeah.
And then the first day of like the Monday kind of workout plan is at the moment is only a leg day, like a classic eccentric 3 seconds,
Yeah.
um, like all kinds of exercises for like classic leg day.
And do you use
Between
machines and stuff, or is it mostly free weight or?
it's mostly free weights.
Yeah,
It's actually only free weights now that I think about it.
yeah, yeah. That makes sense.
Like 8 repetitions, 4 or 5 sets, 3 seconds eccentric. Like squats are not high loads. Like we progress. Like now I started from maybe like 70 up to 90 kilos. Like I move up every set because at the moment it's only important, I would say, or I think that's what their idea is to be careful with the joints, to build them up, to also not make the knees worse than they were already.
Yep.
Because during this season we will move up more into like explosive workouts, full body workouts. Because at the moment it's split between leg day and upper body leg day. We don't have like push and pull days.
Yeah.
It's more leg and upper body split. Um, Upper body is the same eccentric at the moment. And then during the seasons, we have like cycles between, yeah, like the same. We have phases. It depends. Like the most important part of the season, for example, now and during the playoffs, we were doing like 3 to 4 reps,
Yeah.
like high loads, trying to keep it, try to stay explosive. We were combining it with like medicine ball throws and jumps. Yeah, that's yeah. Without having the plan in front of me, it's like
Yeah.
not easy to
Yeah.
explain.
Yeah.
But I would say, yeah. And then like during the main round, sorry, I'm in Berlin. There's always a lot of stuff going on
That's
outside.
right. That's right.
Um, yeah, and then during the seasons, like I said, we have cycles where we move up to like 8 or maybe even 10 reps. We always have
Yeah.
like a core 3 to 4 exercises that we do most of the time, and then we have like alternated. We call it like prevention work
Yeah.
for with a lot of like knees over toes exercises. I don't know if you heard of that.
So
Probably you did.
yeah. So it's kind of like mobility type work
Yeah, it's like
to.
mobility, and like always 3 to 4 exercises also individual
Yeah.
because first of all we have different positions in volleyball. Like the libero is not
Mm.
going to do the same exercises as me because I have to jump all the time.
Yeah.
The
He
libero
doesn't
has
need
to
to
be
jump.
quick on his feet and yeah, and move fast. And so yeah, and then yeah, individual. Like if you have shoulder problems, you're gonna have 2 to 3 exercises that focus on your shoulder and
Yeah. True.
with
Do you
bands and
do
stuff.
do you do much plyometric jumping type work, or do you already get enough jumping stuff in your trainings and your
No,
games that you?
we combine it. We combine it for sure. We for sure jump every day during volleyball practice. But there are times, especially in the beginning of the season, where we will say, okay, now during the weight sessions, like we're gonna really push during the weight training, and then forget a little bit about the jumping in the afternoon. That's not the most important. So we will have like squats, and then we will follow up directly with plyometrics, yeah,
Yeah.
and jumps. Um,
man. It sounds like you do quite a variety of stuff. But you
Yeah,
can
and
see how,
it also depends because in every club you have a different strength and conditioning coach. They all
yeah,
have
like
different
different
ideas how
approaches.
they work, different
Yeah.
philosophies. Some guys
Mm,
really like to do high volume, other guys really like to do like supersets. I don't know. It's
yeah.
really everyone's working differently. Some guys have the sensors on that they put on the bar to measure the speed or the velocity, and then they
Yeah.
kind of make you like try to beat yourself
Get the
and the other guys
data.
in your position. Like now in France, I was because I was playing in Toulouse. There's a really famous Stade Toulousain, the rugby club,
Hmm.
and yeah, we were doing a weight session together with them, and then obviously we were like we had the sensor also on,
Yeah.
and we tried to like find an exercise that was where we could kind of compare each other because it was clear that like some exercises that would absolutely demolish
Yeah.
us,
They're
but like
so
for
strong.
example we were measuring like the jump heights and stuff, and then we were much stronger.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that was fun to see how also like different sports work differently. And then they actually invited us because they have different situations during the game where they kind of need to jump higher. And
Yeah.
I'm not a rugby expert, but when they try to lift each other up,
Yeah.
try
Yeah.
to help the two guys on the bottom and like
Yeah.
make the actual guy jump instead of just lifting him up.
Yeah.
So they were like looking at our footwork before when we jump and that kind of stuff. So we were, yeah, it's always interesting to see like the different disciplines.
Yeah.
And
That's
then you
cool,
had
man.
our two, like their strength and conditioning guy work or speak with our guy. And then the weeks after we had a couple of new exercises also as well. So it's
Yeah.
different to say, or it's hard to say how everyone is working because everyone is working differently. Like
Mm.
now during the winter, during with my club season, I'm gonna do completely different weightlifting than what I will do now during the summer in the next couple of months. Which is
Yeah.
also why
It's
now I'm
interesting,
really
man.
sore because I'm doing the different plans of the different guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I'm coming from the phase where I'm like doing 3 or 4 reps at the most, and now
Mm.
I'm going to like this Tabata stuff with like
That'd be
timed
so
work.
hard. Yeah.
And yeah, I'm having trouble to walk, but
Yeah.
I'm just
Need
hoping to
some
get
extra
over the
recovery.
soreness now, so when I actually go there, it won't be as bad. So
Yeah, man.
that's the idea.
Yeah. And what about the cardio component? Because obviously you're not running around on a field or anything, but you still need to have some fitness to last the game. So you do any specific cardio stuff, whether it's like running or biking, or is that
I
kind
would
of
say
built
especially
in?
during the that's also depends where you play, who's your coach.
Mm.
You have some coaches that like to do it and to combine it with the volleyball, and then
Yeah.
you're like peppering in pairs, and then you have to like run and do side steps and like change positions and whatever. Or you have other coaches that make you work with the medicine ball and in pairs also, and then you have
Mm.
other guys that make you that put you on a bike. Running, I would say, is not the most like real cardio. They don't. Our coach, at least my coaches until now,
Mm.
They haven't sent me outside to run around the track. I
Nice.
know of other guys that had to do it.
Yeah.
But since a lot of my teammates and myself have like knee problems, we try to avoid the run like the straight running in
Yeah.
circles.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Makes
a lot of
sense.
times, like now also during the we will make like tests. We'll take our bloods. We like all kinds of like strength tests. They will test our cardio, and then we
Hmm.
also have the choice between running and going on the bike.
Yeah.
And basically, everyone is going on the bike because
Yeah.
otherwise, if you go running, first off, if you're not used to it, if you go running for the first time in a long time, your calves for like 1 week,
Oh,
you won't be
yeah,
able to
man.
move. So I did that once, and I regretted it so hard, and especially now with my knees also that are not perfect.
Yeah.
I'm going on the bike every time. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, because, yeah, but at the same time, volleyball is not like, you don't need that crazy aerobic capacity like triathlon.
Mm. Mm. It's just
Um,
kind of stop start explosive stuff, right?
stop, start. And then, yeah, like you have those interval runs or interval bike sprints that we do like 20 seconds work, 10
Yeah.
seconds rest. 10 times in a row, and then you have like 2-3 minutes breaks, and then you go again, and then during those 20 seconds you like sprint as hard as you can. That's like one of the main ones that I would probably be doing the next couple of weeks. But then during the season and during the match phase, we don't do much cardio. It's mostly during the preparation phase. So now for me, and yeah, but during the season itself, we basically do no cardio work
Yeah,
because
you can imagine you get so much of it in the game, right?
yeah,
Like, yeah,
especially during the game, and then also during the training, the
yeah,
everyday volleyball practice. Do you hear
yeah,
that?
yeah, Louis.
Yeah, okay. Oh, it's really like it's a busy
Yeah.
street outside.
It's not super loud. I could just hear it in the background.
Yeah, this just
Mm.
distracts me a little bit, but I'm used to it, so I don't check it every time. But yeah,
Yeah.
no. So no, where was I? Damn it.
Talking about the cardio, but you get enough of it in the game and in the
Ah,
training
yeah, yeah. So
sessions.
yeah,
Yeah.
so if we practice for I don't know 2.5, 3 hours, probably more like 2.5 hours every day of
Yeah.
volleyball.
That's a lot, man.
You get enough, and then during the game is gonna last most of the time like around 2 hours, so you're
Yeah.
used to it. And then unless you have a crazy long 3 or like 5 set match that lasts 3 hours, which almost never happens,
Mm.
um, you have enough cardio. And
Yeah.
then yeah, and then during the games you have the timeouts. Me in my position, I have the rotations as a middle blocker where I sit outside because
True.
I'm not at the net all the time. So cardio is not necessarily the most important thing
Yeah.
in volleyball. Yeah.
Makes sense. In terms of the game itself, and you're going to have improved on a lot of aspects, I imagine. So it might be hard to nail it down. But from where you started to where you are now, what do you think are some of the biggest improvements or learnings in the game itself that you've taken on board in that time and how you've improved since you first started?
I think especially like understanding the game, I think is a big part, and in what situations maybe, because my position is really about blocking basically.
Yeah.
Not I like to attack, but most important for me is blocking, because so my job is to read and understand the setter that's on the other side of the net. And so a lot of times during the week, I'm already watching video of the setter of the upcoming
Mm,
game and trying to understand in which situation he will do what. Understanding who are the important players, or who are the players that he will set in specific situations or important moments at the end of the set. He's not going to give the ball to the guy that he hasn't given the ball to all
yeah.
game.
Yeah.
So, and taking options, I think, is also like one of the big things. Like you don't, because it's not important to try to be everywhere as a blocker. It's trying to understand when you can basically like eliminate one option, and then okay, I'm gonna forget about this guy and then just focus about the 2 or 3 other guys that are still in the game. I think that's really important. And then the technical work is of course I'm gonna have improved like a lot since I started,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I think that comes naturally. I think the most important is like understanding the game, and I'm still not perfect.
Mhm.
I'm still learning every season and trying to learn from more experienced players how they do it, and trying to speak with them. But yeah, I think that's the one of the key takeaways that I would say important in my position. I think it's important in all positions.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I suppose. But if you're like an outside hitter and you're only blocking the post, you're not going to get
yeah,
split.
you
Whereas
yeah
in
you
your
don't need to
position,
focus
there's like
about yeah.
three different ways you could go
You still
to
need
block.
to understand the game and understand that if you have this high ball situation compared to like a situation where the setter has the ball at the net and he can give you a really fast ball,
Yeah.
you're gonna have the block on the other side is gonna look different, because if
Mm.
you are getting a fast ball, you will only have one guy in front of you. And instead, if you have a high ball situation where the setter has to run, and if it's impossible for him to give you a fast ball, he will give you a high ball. You
Mm.
can be pretty sure, at least at the level where I play now, that you will have 3 guys in front of you, and then it's about like making smart decisions and not just hitting hard in the middle of the block, because most of the time you will not be successful doing it. And this is also where kind of the general direction of volleyball is going, trying
Yeah.
to find new creative ways to score points that are not always pretty to watch,
Yeah.
especially if you're the one blocking. But yeah, like pushing and like trying to trying to wipe out the block and stuff like this. Um, yeah, so I think the game is also evolving, but
Yeah.
yeah, all players. It's a lot about understanding the game and making good decisions.
And
Not
you can
always
imagine,
about being the most athletic or the most skillful player. For
yeah,
sure, it helps you a lot, but if you don't have the brain behind it to make the right decisions in the right moments, I think it's hard at the highest level.
yeah, and that temptation to always just smack it as hard as you
Yeah, it
can
always
will
feels good
always be
to
there.
put a crater on the ground, but
Yeah. For the ego.
yeah, but it's a learning curve. I for sure
Yeah.
also took me a long time to understand it,
Mm.
and that's also why I mean because why it's so important to understand when to do what, because if you don't have people telling you early in your career that this is not helping you, because 1 in 5 balls you put a crate on the ground, you put a hole in the ground, but
Mm.
the other 4 balls you have guys touching it, and
Yeah.
or you're getting blocked. But the 1 in 5, it feels really good, so you keep doing it, and so it doesn't help the team necessarily, but you
Yeah.
feel good. And if you don't have someone telling you like, hey, try to maybe do this and that to improve the score for your team, and not
Yeah,
only how
man.
you feel personally. That's like the difference between professional and professional volleyball and the volleyball where you play for fun. I
Yeah.
mean, I still play for fun because otherwise I would probably be an engineer already.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, man. I remember like Paul Bar or P Bar at
yeah,
school, just how technically minded he was, man, and always trying to improve our run ups. And then you try to improve your run up, but then you end up missing the ball because you're focused so much on your run up. Or
yeah,
he'll tell you don't just bomb it straight down the line to try and hit it off the
yeah.
blocks and stuff like that. And you can get
Yeah, I actually
so
went to
technical with that.
yeah, I went to visit like during the third or fourth seasons that I played professionally
Yeah.
during the off season, because I had a friend that played with me from New Zealand, from Nelson. So
Oh,
after the
nice.
season, we basically jumped on the same plane together and flew back to New Zealand, and I did like a road trip for 6 weeks around New
Yeah.
Zealand. I'm not sure, but I think we even met in I think I randomly
Wellington?
saw you in Wellington.
Yeah, I would have been there at that
Yeah,
time. Yeah,
we
yeah.
ran into each other. It was
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
and
I feel like I
yeah,
do
I actually,
remember.
because
Yeah.
one of my best friends was the son of Paul Ball, our coach back then.
Oh, Nico.
Yeah, Nico. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was hanging out with him and at his place, and then there was also coach there, and he
Yeah.
was. I remember him asking me about like some blocking footwork and stuff. I
Yeah.
was trying to explain him like the new things that I learned during my 2 3 like seasons that had passed.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was always a good time.
That's so cool, man. Yeah. Yeah, it was so fun. Even we were away in Lanzarote, like in the Canary Islands recently.
Yeah,
And I ended up playing some beach volleyball. There was some people down there I ended up playing. And it just really took me back. Like I haven't played volleyball since school, but even like, and I mean, sand is a lot harder too.
yeah,
But like,
yeah. You need to get used to it. Yeah,
yeah, it was just so fun, man. Like it was so fun playing it
I
again.
know that a lot of like professional beach volleyball teams from Germany go to like the Canary Islands because
Mm,
you always have good weather and like good conditions.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah.
Since you started, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges in the game that you've had to overcome? Obviously, we've touched on some of the things that you've learned, but in your game, maybe technically in the game itself, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome since you started?
I think one part is definitely the physical challenges,
Hmm.
because as you said, we as volleyball players jump a lot, and I especially have had a lot of trouble with my knee, with my patella tendon.
Hmm.
The first 3 or 4 years, I always had like the ligament was basically always, I had a lot of inflammation below it.
Yeah.
So I was basically going to the physiotherapist basically every day. I still do now, but now the pain has moved, and over the years, you always find new treatment methods. You find new exercises that help you, and then you do it for 2-3 months, and then it changes again, and then you need to find a new solution. So it's like this constant battle between you and your need to try and find a negotiate a way
Yeah, the
to
middle
be able
ground.
to jump every single day.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's definitely been maybe even the biggest challenge to stay focused and stay, yeah, in the end professional, because it's your job to stay ready to play. Yeah, and yeah, so always finding new solutions was a big thing for my knee. And then the other thing was, um, to always remember why I play volleyball, because of course there are always tough moments, or a lot of tough moments. Um, and the reason why I played volleyball, why I started, and why I kept going for a long time was because I enjoy playing volleyball. And sometimes during tough moments, it's good to remind yourself, to maybe find like even joy in small moments. And then we also have like the mental aspect of the game also has improved. Like in all sports, you have like sports, um, I don't know what to
Like
call it in English.
psychology, like sports
Yeah,
psychology.
sports psychologists, like
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
into the sports. So that was also a good part, like a good discovery for myself. I would say that, in the beginning, I had trouble to accept that. Okay, let's try this out. But in the end, I actually discovered that there are a lot of things about it that help you. That, I mean, it's in the end, it's always individual. Until now, I still know guys that have trouble with it and just try to turn off their minds, and then they can do it, and then they can perform at the highest level. But I'm not a guy that can simply turn off his mind, because I'm a guy that always is thinking about stuff. And then I think it's good to find ways to control it. There are a lot of different options. Like also with the strength and conditioning, you don't only have to work on your muscles, you have to work on your brain also. It's also a muscle.
100%. Yeah.
One of the coaches always said.
And
Um,
do you think that's in relation specifically to, say, making a mistake in a game, or is it more losing a game, or is it sort of both?
it's in all different moments. I think it's even in your everyday life. It can be important. But if you lose a point, if you make a bad action, it's always easy to stay stuck in that moment and not think about the next point. And like 5 minutes later, you're still thinking about the action that happened in like, yeah, 5 points ago or 10 points ago. And then
Yeah.
I think it impacts your game a lot, because you're moving differently, you're doing different things than you would normally do, because you're trying to fix something that doesn't necessarily need fixing, only because you did it wrong once out of 100 times, but that one time happened during a game.
Yeah.
So yeah, and these kind of situations happen, I think, in with everybody. It happens during everyday life. It happens, yeah, in sports. I think it's more visible because you have a lot of people watching a lot of times. But yeah, like things like journaling, for example, helped me a lot, and also like keep track of what I'm trying to do every day.
Yeah.
Um,
And would the
like
journaling be sort of writing down what happened and how you responded?
yeah,
What
like
would the journaling
basically
look like?
like checking in every day is
Yeah.
one part of it, but especially before going to practice, or even in the morning. Like, hey, like during volleyball, there's always like the sports part, and like the overall part, I would say. And then you have like the sports part is like, okay, how do I want to improve today? Or what do I want to improve today? How do I want to improve it? And then it kind of keeps you accountable, because after practice, you look at what you wrote in the morning and you're like, okay, like how did I do this and that? And how did it work? How can I improve it tomorrow even further? And then like there's the overall part, like gratefulness is for me is a big point. also, because a lot of times I tend to forget like in what a privileged position I am to be able to do a sport that I love and get paid for it.
Mm.
And
Man, that's
even
awesome.
knowing that I was able to finish my studies at the same time. So for me, this is like, yeah, this is a big part for me, like the gratefulness and like being aware how lucky you are.
Man, I really like that. It's so easy to lose sight of how privileged you are
Yeah,
sometimes.
and
Or
I like I say, I tend to forget it, and then it takes
mm,
me sometimes a few days, sometimes a few weeks to like to realize like, man, something's going on, and then you're like, yeah, I think I'm just not in the moment. Like I'm not appreciating what I'm doing is, or why I'm doing what I'm doing, and then you lose yourself in like small goals, and you get frustrated,
yeah,
and yeah.
yeah, man. And another element to that that I really like is that you're making it clear to yourself what success looks like too. It's so easy to not set clear goals or anything or set clear measures for what success looks like. So you never really know if you're improving or if you could be doing better or if you're actually doing a good job. Whereas writing down, I want to improve on X, Y, and Z today. And did I
It
do
doesn't
that?
have
Did
to
I
be
not?
like big things, and can be
Mm,
little things. And I think it's important that we put like that these things that you write down are little things, because big things you're not gonna improve by, I don't know, like 20% in one
yeah.
training. Like it's a small one, like maybe less or 1% of
Mm,
one element that you can improve during the practice, or even like try to avoid the bad habits that maybe you develop during the season, because maybe at the beginning of the season, during preseason, you work on something during the blocking movement, and then in the beginning of the season it works well, and then over time you kind of like forget the feeling of, or like you start to do things that you were doing before that weren't necessarily helpful, and then every day, the same way that you can improve 1%, you can lose 1% of one element. And yeah, if you do it over multiple weeks, um yeah, and you don't realize while it's happening, but in the end, after 2 3 months, you're like, wow, like if I compare now, if I watch the video of now compared to like 2 months ago, it's like a big difference.
yeah. Could you
um
give a few examples of maybe some things that you would write down to in your journal that you would want to
yeah,
improve on if
I
you could
think
think of any?
they're really volleyball related, but
Yeah.
I'll still give them to you. I think for me, a big part is during the blocking movement, that in the end, the most important thing is that you have your hands on the other side of the net for the most time possible.
Mm,
And because volleyball is a physical sport, sometimes you have players that like to hit over the block. So you as a blocker try to be like, okay, I'm gonna reach as high as possible and try and stop this guy. And then you know that, okay, at the weekend I'm gonna play against this guy. He's gonna spike really high or whatever. Or you have a guy in practice that's doing it. And so maybe against this one guy, it's working from time to time, but over time, you have this bad habit of always reaching high, and like you basically offering your entire arm and sometimes also the face
yeah,
to get hit at by other players that don't spike this high. Also, the guy that's really high, if he hits down instead of trying to hit over you, you get in the face or you get a block out, and it's a point for the other team.
yeah,
So I think this is for me a big part of, yeah, I never stop working on it, because as soon as you stop working on it, I think a lot of other players also will agree that you will get back to this bad habit of not trying to reach on the other side. And like in my head, I have my old coach from Germany, like Stefan from Lüneburg, that's always trying to tell me, like, as long as possible without touching the net,
yeah,
try and have your fingers or your hands pushing at the wall at the opposite end of the gym. I think
yeah,
this is like one of the key advices that are like basically every day in my head. Sometimes, like when I'm like conscious about it. When I'm not conscious about it, and I get these bad habits, I forget about it. And like after a couple of weeks, when I start to realize, man, I'm always getting block out, I'm barely getting kill blocks, you start to think about it again. And I think this is like a constant cycle that is, I don't know if it's possible to even break it,
Yeah, yeah.
unless you're extremely cautious about it and conscious
Mm, mm.
every single day that you go into practice. But there are so many things. I'm not a guy that can focus on it every single day because I also have other elements that I want to focus on. Um, so yeah, and one thing that was also like noticeably different for me was the difference between doing the volleyball completely professionally compared to doing the studies at the same time. Because while I was studying for, I don't know, 6 to 7 hours a day,
Yeah.
and then going to the volleyball practice. And I was only later that I realized that I was always tired, like not physically, but mentally. And then you don't have the capacity to work on little things like this. So while at the same time it gave me like a safety net, the
Yeah,
studies,
yeah,
that I
yeah.
knew, okay, if something happens, if I don't find a good contract, if I don't want to keep going to play, don't want to keep playing volleyball, I will have something to fall back on. At
Mm.
the same time, while you're studying, you definitely have a difference during with the practice productivity, I'll say,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because you're simply, yeah, it's hard to stay focused
Yeah.
if you
And you
already
can only
worked
do
or
so
studied
much.
during the day. Yeah.
Exactly, man.
So now I feel much more able to actually work on. And then at the after practice, I'm still like really exhausted, also mentally and physically.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was also a big thing that I realized after I finished my studies. Like, man, I have like way more energy um, to spend during the practice and also
Mm.
think about stuff.
Mm. That blocking example, that specifically that
Mm.
volleyball one is really interesting, man. That analogy, you can see the difference between you just focusing on going up versus you focusing on actually going over the net,
Yeah,
right? Could you break down what it takes to do a really good block in volleyball? Let's say, I don't know, you want to block the post. So making a really specific example, how would you break that down into performing a really good block?
I think to try and stay like visual maybe is to try. So the first is that you need to be able to make one, like the big first step to the side.
Mhm.
Then the second step is kind of like almost a jump forward towards the post, and then from there you have the other foot, because you jumped on basically one leg.
Yeah.
You have the other foot that's trying to close and turn towards the hitter,
Mhm.
and then you try to jump as high as possible. Maybe not always as high as possible. It depends on the hitter on the other side, because some guys are not jumping as high as you, so it doesn't make sense to jump higher than them.
Yeah.
And then maybe try and form like this kind of C with your body, because you have the hands going on the other side, and then at the same time you need to have like some like body
It's like flexion
yeah,
type
like
thing.
this
Yeah, yeah,
flexion.
yeah.
You basically have your feet pointed, like your whole body is like a C basically. You have the hands up here, and then you have your legs and your feet that are like, yeah, like a C, I would say.
Yeah, yeah.
um and this for me is like the most important, to seal the net and go over the net. um
Mm.
is really important. And then you have like other like small little things, that how you hold your arms while you go to the outside of the net, and these things. And when you land, how you do your transition move to get out of the net, to be uh like available to your setter.
Yeah. When you do that transition, do you turn and face away from the net, or do
Yeah,
you go backwards
I
and keep?
try you I mean you try to always look at the ball,
Mhm.
because yeah, but sometimes it's hard because it's going behind you. So you definitely, with your head, you're already turning back towards the back of your own court.
Yeah.
And then it's like maybe even like a choreography of footwork, I would say, to get out of
Yeah.
the net. It's different from like one side of the net to the other. Um, and then you always look at the ball basically until okay, this is a good situation. In my position as a middle blocker, I know that if the ball is close to the net, there is a possibility that he gives it to me, the ball. So I try to choose a position or like a set variation where I know, okay, that he can give it to me. If he wants to give it to me, I will be available for him.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then from there you just hope you get it,
Yeah, yeah,
and then
yeah.
it's up to the setter to give it to you.
Yeah. So a lot of the time, is it you're giving the option to the setter, not necessarily you have a set play in mind? Obviously, maybe off a serve, you might have a
Yeah.
set play in mind, but do you kind of just run a line and he just knows that you're running that line? So he would give it to you there if he wants to
There's
give it to you there.
most of the time there's like either you jump close to the setter or you have like 2 to 3 meters away from him.
Yeah.
There's like most of the times these two situations, and then there's like small other variations, but they're not important. And then like even during after the serve, I think there's also it's like this similar situation. The setter's not going to tell you that he gives you the ball, so you make yourself available, and then yeah, a lot of the times you will not get the ball, but I think it's the most important thing is like to always be ready for the next ball and not just kind of jump half because you think, okay, he's not going to give it to me, because those are the situations where he will
Yeah.
definitely give it to you.
Yeah. But
But
and you would want to be convincing for the other team too, right? Because you doing that
yeah,
could
exactly.
split
And then
split the
if
block.
yeah, exactly. And then on the other side, you want to be convincing and make the other team think that you will get the ball and jump on you, and not the guy on the outside that will actually get the ball. And then the guy on the outside, your teammate, has a easier situation where maybe he will only have one guy blocking against him and not two or even three.
Yeah, man. Exactly. One more thing I would be interested. We chat about your training. I kind of want to pull it back a little
Mm.
bit. We
Yeah.
did your training. I also want to understand a bit more about your nutrition. What does your nutrition look like? Do you get a set plan, or do you kind of just do whatever, or what do you do for that?
Um, Also different. Depends on the club. Um, there's different levels of professionalism, I would say. In the clubs in Poland, it was extremely professional. We had a like catering company that was delivering food every single day for me. So I had the calories counted. I had a vegetarian plan. So yeah, for me, for a long time now, because my girlfriend is also vegan. Vegan is a little too far for me.
Yeah.
I like to go vegan, but I like my cheese from time to time.
Oh, bro.
Um, so no, meat is really easy to cut for me.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so in Poland, I had it delivered to me every single day, so that was really easy.
Oh man, that's so good.
During the summer, yeah, it's like you don't need to do food
Damn.
prepping at all. And then during the summer with the national team, you always have like basically all inclusive
Yeah.
holiday, except that you have to play volleyball every single day and you're probably sore every day.
Yeah.
But other than that, no, the hotels are mostly nice and you get good food. So that's also pretty easy. But they're not like you don't have the coaches standing next to you and telling you, hey, maybe go easy on that cake today or whatever, or go easy
Yeah.
on whatever. I think it's a lot about being responsible.
Mm.
But if you got to the level where where at least I am at the moment, not at the highest level, but at a pretty good level, um, I think it also speaks to itself that I can eat responsibly. And then you have the checks like every few months they will like make like the fat test measurement
Oh,
with a
interesting.
little
Like the
claw.
calipers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, they do check on you from time to time, but they don't look at your plate, and unless you do it every day and you're just abusing it,
Yeah.
then you will especially you will have your teammates looking at you and probably say like, man, what are you doing? Or if you have ice cream every single day, you will it's
Yeah,
probably
right.
your teammates that hold you accountable the most,
Yeah.
I would say, in those situations, because you're always together. And then during the club season, now that I was in France, I had a lot of baguette. and cheese.
Nice.
And I still could perform pretty well. No, it's also there. I would say it's not. Volleyball athletes are not the most clean eating athletes, because we simply, it's not like triathlon, or like I said, with the aerobic capacity. You don't need this
Yeah,
crazy
that's true.
cardio. It's mostly about feeling good,
Yeah.
and like being responsible, I would say.
You just wouldn't want to gain 5 kgs because it'd be a lot harder to
Exactly.
jump
We're
off the
not
ground.
we are disciplined, but
Yeah.
not to the same level as are required by other sports, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a
And
good
then
way of putting it.
you always have guys that are like really good examples for being extremely disciplined or not disciplined at all, and they both play at the highest level. So
Yeah,
the exceptions also in this area.
it can be done. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about supplements? Are you prescribed any supplements at any time, or is it mostly just your food they look at?
Yeah, it depends also like on your blood results.
Yeah.
For me, since I'm vegetarian, I know that I'm probably gonna need some extra B12.
Yeah.
Then I have the classic like nothing super fancy, but like the magnesium, my iron, and B12 during the summer what I take, and then during the winter, you will know from Manchester, there's no sun probably there as well.
Need
So you
that
take
vitamin
the
D.
vitamin D
Yeah, man.
on top, and then from there, after like the weightlifting sessions, you take a protein shake. You have a protein shake.
Yeah.
And also there, like nothing fancy. Also, that depends on the strength and conditioning coach. If you have like, they want you to take creatine or BCAAs. Depends also on the player. If you're already in good shape, they don't load you up on creatine every day. Yeah, depends.
Yeah. That's cool, man. And in terms of your upcoming plans for this year, you've mentioned a few different things, but what is on the cards for you this year? Will you be going to the Olympics, you think?
That's like the big thing that I'm working towards. So it's also like the second most important reason why I play volleyball, is to like realize this dream of going to the Olympics. But like in any sport, you have a lot of guys or girls, but for me it's guys that like want to go. We're all fighting for like a limited amount of spots. Since we're a team sport, it's not like you're the guy that, it's not like athletics where you're the guy, it only depends from you. So no, we are all trying to do our best. I think we have especially with the German national team, we have an extremely good climate and atmosphere in the team. Also with the guys from the same position, so with the other middle blockers, I'm extremely close, and it's not easy, because we all know that some of us are gonna be really disappointed. But we try. I mean, we talk about it from time to time, but we try to do our best for every single guy to improve, to keep improving, and in the end, it's up to the coaches to decide. We try to make ourselves available in the best possible way, and then, I mean, we hope at this. There's some hoping, but at the same time, you also need to have like the confidence and be like, okay, like I showed myself every single day. If it's enough, it's enough. If it's not enough, so be it. You have your best, basically your best friends will go instead of you, so you can still be happy for them, even though you will be probably like a little heartbroken for a couple of days or weeks.
Yeah.
But man, life goes on. It's not only sports in the world, and that's for me like, yeah. If it's I play the sport because I enjoy it.
Mm,
It's not the most important thing for me in the world.
yeah.
There's things outside of volleyball. I recently got engaged, so that's also
Oh,
like,
congrats, bro.
yeah, thanks.
Yeah, no worries.
That's also one thing to think about. So yeah, no, but to be honest, it's a really, really big thing. Like now this summer with the Olympics.
Yeah.
But like I said, in the end, I have some control over it, but not all of it. And
Yeah. It
yeah,
sounds like you just
if I don't go, I will still be happy for the other guys. I like, honestly, that's how it
yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah. And it sounds like you just, as long as you have done everything in your control
You
that
got
you can
exactly,
do, then you'll be satisfied. Obviously
and then
upset, but satisfied with the work that you put in.
yeah, and then it's up to the other guys
Yeah.
to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, man. You can see that gratitude work that you've put in, I feel like I can see how much it's benefiting you and your perspective. It's like you're able to see it from a higher level perspective and understand, yeah, obviously
It's
you'll
good to
be
hear.
upset.
Sometimes it's
Yeah.
not
But
always
like,
like that, but I try to keep it up, and I
yeah.
think it's also one of my qualities in a team. Like, I remember one coach told me, like, you're like the glue in the team that holds everybody together, and I think it's
Mm,
always important to have a good atmosphere in the team, and it starts with yourself. Like, if you are aware, like, how lucky you are to be in the position you're at, and maybe you can help other guys um to that are going through hard times, to help them, and
yeah.
then, yeah, have a good time also, and like, make friendships also for life, because in volleyball a lot of times there are only contracts for 1 year or 2 years at the most. So every single season I go into the season not knowing anyone, and then at the end of the season, like, now I have friends basically all over the world,
Hmm.
that on every single continent, that I know that if one day I can go to visit them, and I hope that they will they'll just welcome me with
Yeah,
open
yeah,
arms. But I think, if they want to come visit me, yeah, definitely they're invited to do so. So
yeah,
no, that's the most important thing for me, to, like, stay grateful and remember why I do everything, and to,
yeah.
yeah,
And it's
that's not
amazing
always.
what you can do just by leading by example, like you are too. It's not necessarily you're always encouraging people with your words and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure that's an element to it, but just by turning up, being the person that you are, and leading with a mindset of gratitude, it's amazing how much that can rub off on other guys too. Rather than it could work the opposite if you're always getting frustrated and pissed off when
Yeah,
you make a
I never really
mistake.
thought
Like,
about it that way, like how it can actually affect other people, to be honest.
mm,
But it sounds really good, like, how
yeah.
you describe it. I hope that's how it is. Um, yeah, what can I say? I hope it's how it goes.
Yeah, I just think you can feel a dynamic in the team. If one person makes a mistake and then they get pissed off and then they get maybe annoyed at someone else, you could see how that snowballs the other
Yeah,
ways.
especially because, like, in this team dynamic, it's like with, like, in normal work life, I'll say, how
Yeah,
you have your colleagues that you work with every single day.
yeah,
It's definitely easier to have a good atmosphere and be also maybe even more productive,
mm,
if you have good guys around you, or if you create a good atmosphere and try to make it work for everybody.
yeah, absolutely, man. Well said. Hey, if people want to find you and follow your journey a bit more, where is the best place for people to search you up?
Probably the classic Instagram, like
Yeah,
the Florian.Krage, I would
hmm,
say. Or, yeah, now that's like my main account where I'm active.
yeah,
Um, I don't post too much private stuff because I want to also have a private life.
yeah,
But
understandable.
like, for the volleyball stuff, I think I keep it pretty updated. And
Yeah,
yeah, well, you're
yeah.
welcome to check it out.
Absolutely, man. I'd recommend it too. I've been probably following your Instagram since Trident, so I
Yeah.
feel like I've seen most of your journey. And yeah, I'd agree. You do post
Mm,
a lot of your volleyball updates on there, so it's
mm.
cool seeing what you're up to. Once again, man, I appreciate you coming on. It's been super insightful getting an understanding into your journey, especially the off-court stuff too. Found it real interesting the work that you've put into the gratitude and the mindfulness and stuff. It's so much more than just playing a sport.
Well, yeah, more than what you see. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely,
I think
man.
it's the same for every sport, but I think it's getting more and more important. I think it's a few years now that people realize it, and
Yeah,
I'm sure it will keep getting more and more important, because there are
yeah,
still some coaches that don't really implement it at all, or if you
mm,
have one or two bad results, the mental, like, the sports psychologist is, like, kicked out of the window.
mm,
So yeah, I think it's still evolving a lot, and I wouldn't say it's like at the highest of what it could or what it should be at.
yeah,
In the end, it's always individual. I think it's important that you give the choice to the players and to also the coaches, because I think it can also help them to, if they want to use these tools.
yeah,
Um, But yeah, in the end, I think it can be really helpful if you accept it and if it works for you, of course.
Definitely. Well said, bro. I think we'll wrap it up there. Thanks heaps again,
Perfect.
man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Appreciate
Mhm.
it.